Hello everyone, welcome to the Clarity Feature Supportability Training. My name is Bill Yee. And today we're going to cover the CSV import for custom master objects, TSV support for Clarity 16.1.2. So what's new for CSV import for custom master objects is that we added support for timescale values or TSV periods within the custom master objects. We've also enhanced the CSV export when you choose the export import option to export the appropriate TSV headers, and we'll cover more on that in details in the later slides. And this last item is that this is not a beta feature, but we made a change related to CSV export, and this is related specifically for the modern UX and across all objects that support CSV export. Is that now you need to download the CSV file from the bell icon, and we'll cover more in the details in later slides. So we heard from customers that they've also wanted support for TSVs within CSV import, because a lot of them manage some of their information within Excel and like an easier way to import that within Clarity. And the design that we've done here for CSV import for TSVs for custom master objects will be applied as we port this functionality to other areas within Clarity as well. So any feedback or suggestions or any enhancements, let us know, and we'll try to get those inside the product in future releases. So the changes we did for CSV import for TSV are twofold. First, we enhanced the CSV export to export the appropriate TSV headers. And for TSVs, it's a 3-row header versus the 2 for non-TSV. So the first row would be the TSV period name. The second row would be the TSV API attribute ID. And the third would be the TSV attribute name. And then based on this information within the CSV export file, we'll use that to import when we read it in. So one thing to note for the TSV period name, this is where we determine what the period type is, because within that period name that you define within your default entity, we're able to figure out if it's weeks, months, quarters, or years, and the value you're going to be importing. So based on the header, we would assume the values you're entering for the TSV is going to be for weeks, month, quarters, or year, depending on the period type you have exported from your grid. And then also too, it's smart enough to figure out also too, based on the user's locale and language, to understand the appropriate labels that you defined on your TSV periods, and also too the values we're looking for. So the decimal delimiters, if it's comma, periods, depending on your locale. We've also supported for TSV different extended data types. So for numbers, money, percentages are supported. But we only support insert and update for only on the periods. We do not support it for the TSV totals, and allow you to peanut butter spread for that one. We're not, that area will support only for the specific periods. So here's an example of a CSV export file for TSVs. So as you can see, it's a 3-row header file with the TSV period, API attribute ID, and TSV attribute name. For the non-TSV fields, it will just be blank for that 3rd row here. And note, when you use it will only export this header row if you have the export import option set to true under user settings. And also note, it will export the TSV totals, but when you import it in, this area will just be ignored. You'll get a warning message, but the import will still proceed, so be aware of that. So as I mentioned previously, is that the system, based on the TSV period name that you entered on your default entity, it can determine the period type. So it checks that against what you have defined on your default entity, and that's how it determines and can figure out the period type. And then once it understands the period type, it'll know how to import that appropriately within Clarity. So say if you want to view this data, if you inserted this data here, this is months, and then you go ahead and view it in quarters, it'll be display the data appropriately. One thing to note, I think within in your default entity, it doesn't necessarily when you enter it check for duplicates. So if the system during the import detects duplicates, you'll get an error message and your import will be aborted. So specifically for TSV money attributes for TSV, we only support single currency Clarity instances now. And for that CSV import for TSV money attributes, it will use the system currency defined under financial management defaults. So here's some additional things that you should know related to CSV import is that when you're entering the values within your CSV import file, the periods don't need to be contiguous. So here's an example where they're entering values for January of 2023 and April of 2023. So they don't need to be contiguous. The system just recognizes what the period name and will enter those values appropriately based on what they see in the period name in the first row header. Also, too, the system is smart enough, based on the user's language, it will understand the language and locale of the label names to identify that and what's defined on your default entity under financial management under administration back in Clarity. So it also understands the values, based on the locale. So your decimal delimiter, either comma, period, or what you have there, or space, it will understand that based on the locale of the user. So we made a change to CSV export, and where for all objects in the modern UX is that now in order to get the CSV export file, you need to download it from the bell icon. Now this was only required in prior releases if you are exporting greater than 500 records from your grid. But CSV export is a system-intensive operation, and allowing us to have all exports to handle from the bell icon allows the Clarity system to better manage this throughput and overall, help to keep up to date and keep the performance running smoothly on your Clarity system. As I mentioned, this change is applied to all objects within the modern UX, and this is not a beta enhancement. This is more of a change we made to ensure the performance that we have on your Clarity system. So I'm going to give a demonstration of CSV import for custom master objects TSV support so you can see it in action. So I'm going to give a demonstration of our new enhancements for CSV import for custom master objects TSV support. So let's look at the CSV export enhancements. So if I export this out, you'll see by default, even though I got 5 records, it will always now run in the background. We can close it out, and then here we can go ahead and download the CSV file from the bell icon. So if we do that and open up that file, you'll see that this particular file, you'll see the CSV header here, the 3-row header, that for the top portion is the TSV period name. This is the API attribute ID for that TSV field, and this is the TSV attribute label name for each one. So here, if you look at it, we have one for the TSV number, TSV percent, and TSV money. And let's use this particular file. So we'll go ahead and update this one. So for now, let's go ahead and make this 4 ones and just apply it to all the records for the number, and say for For this one, we'll make this one 0.11 and apply it to all. And for this one, we'll make this one all ones as well, so you can actually see it, see the update within each of the different files. So this one, I'm only going to actually do it for the first period. And with that, we'll save it, and then we can go ahead and do an import and select that same file, which is unsaved one, do an import, and you'll see it processes, you know, that particular period with the 111 for the number, percentage is 11%, and the 4 ones for the TSV money. Now also too, what I've done also too as well is that I've also created another file called TSV Import Quarters, which now currently I have it here displayed as months. I can display this one. This one is actually using quarters, and I've updated the quarters for the first quarter and the second quarter. For the number, it's 1. For the percentage, it's 12% here, and then for the money, it's 12. So then, just to let you know that I can import this as quarters, and I'll be able to view it appropriately in months in my current screen. So let's do this. So let's go ahead and move this out the way. Let's import that particular CSV file. And that was the TSV import for quarters. Import that. And this was successful as well. As you'll note too, for this one, you can see this is imported. Now before, if we bring back the spreadsheet, this was imported as quarters. Right now we're displaying this as months. So the first month will be 1/3 of the quarter, which is 4. And then 12% is 12%, you know, is regardless of its month or quarters or years. And then for the TSV money here, this is 1/3 of it as well, which is 4 here, and it's 12 here. Otherwise, what I can also do here is go ahead and change this to quarters, and it will display the same here as I mentioned it, as I showed inside my my spreadsheet. And that concludes my demo for CSV import for TSV support. So that concludes my presentation for CSV import, custom master objects, TSV support. Thank you.